against my enemies, yeah. You see, you wanted to save you, and then learn how to raise you. But I forget you're from the wilderness.
Hello everyone, what is up? I am Rob.
I'm Eamon.
Oh, Mini Fuzz. Hope everyone's doing well. How are you doing, Eamon?
Good, I'm just opening the Mini Fuzz as we speak.
Yeah.
Happy to see it.
Full of surprises it is today. It's
Fuzz of surprises.
Yeah, it's Fuzz of surprises. It's a treasure trove of wealth of information and a wealth of information. And
I see we've got some, I do love to see some Bigfoot sightings. You know? I see them up there.
Had to try and know Bigfoot.
Pretty good. You know what I like?
Yeah. If we go too long without Bigfoot, I had to put them back in. You know, you can't let it go.
As my grandfather used to say, never go too long without Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's true.
That was a
popular
O'Neill. No, that was the other granddad. That was liminal grandfather.
Hope everyone's doing well. Hope you're having a good time. Before we get into this little mini fuzz, I'd like to remind everyone to check out our Patreon. You'll get access to our Discord, exclusive episodes and all that jazz over there. You can also gift the gift of Patreon out to people. It's a new feature. Happy days. If you need any help finding that, do drop us a line and we can sort you out. Eamon, if they've found Bigfoot or anything else, where should they let us know?
If you've found anything, monsterfuzzpodcast@gmail.com. Right into us, let us know about it. We always love your spooky stories, so we like to get these mini fuzzes if we can get any listener stories into them at all. So send in your emails and we will feature them here.
Word, big bird. Big shout out to everyone as well. Actually, the Spotify Wrapped came around. We did mention it last week. We got lots of tags. Thanks to everyone for listening. It was cool to see what everyone listens to. It was also cool. Like last podcast on the left seems to be our like foil. It's like last podcast on left is usually number one and we're like number two.
We're
which is great.
No, it's a similar product. There's not a lot like them out there. I think if we had another guy and we were more eccentric than we are, then and arguably more intelligent and with better production values than we're last podcast on the left.
They're the most popular podcast on Patreon, so
they were.
They were.
Apparently Matt and Shane bet them last year. Matt and Shane's secret podcast.
Had to check that out though. It's probably fucking
oh man, I've heard people giving out fierce about that podcast. They invented a cryptocurrency
meme coin,
and just like
that's basically
it's basically fraud, right?
But that's basically all cryptocurrencies
nowadays.
Any of those new coins, like basically it's
a pyramid
smart
scheme.
Nerds who've made something and then they get like PR people to convince people to invest into it, and then there's a rug pulled in when they get enough chumps. It's a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, it's a pyramid scheme. Yeah, like it's mad though. It's fairly cool. Like the Hawk Tua girl, nothing against her. You know, respect.
Second most popular podcast in the world, by the way.
That's incredible. And all you had to do was be interviewed in the middle of the night and say like spitting on Mickey's. Like that rise to success. Nuts. And I don't know, maybe her podcast is really good.
It's
mad. Our society, if there was ever a sign of a decaying, dying,
it doesn't do it like
mentally deranged society.
For podcasts, it just doesn't speak well at all, because you're like, if someone like that can just come in off a meme and be number two in podcasting space, every podcaster, including us, should be just ashamed of ourselves.
It's
it's not to take anything away from her, because again, she's just doing her thing. She's just starting a podcast.
Imagine going out one night, getting sauced, and then you're a millionaire overnight.
Imagine being like Dan Carlin, or like like Welcome to Night Vale, or your Ologies, or one of these podcasts. Or you're like Lex Friedman,
like something that takes a lot of research and you have to
and then talk to
she's like spit on me Mickey, and that's that. It is ridiculous. Like it's
hilarious. Like it just shows you though. It's like it shows you a couple of things actually that I take away from it as a podcaster. Is one, podcasting is nowhere near as deep as it can be, because if someone like that can come in and just become number two, it means that there's loads of listeners out there. I think a lot of
people don't know. There's so many podcasts. A lot of people who want to get into podcasts go, what's popular? The girl that spits on Mickey's, and then they just go with that. And it's like, and I'm sure it probably is a nice passive experience. You're in the car, you're just listening to shit, you know?
I don't know her, but from what I've been told, apparently, like, she's from a small town of like 800
She's
people.
Like from what I've read,
I think she cares for
person.
her granny and stuff like that. I think she like dropped out of college.
I heard she was like
so maybe she deserves
money away. She seems like a decent, like it's no fault on her. No, I'm not saying anything about her herself.
No,
it's just a bizarre.
It's just
situation.
Hilarious. It's like you've got again H3 podcast. You've got like all these big, huge podcasts, and then like she just goes on about spitting on Mickey's, and then she's like number
I'd love to know what she's actually talking about. There's a hilarious.
It's just a generic like chatty podcast.
But there's a hilarious like cartoon, and it's like this lad. He's in a basement apartment, and like he starts getting a leak coming through his ceiling, and like when he goes up to like talk to the neighbor above. All your man is doing is listening to the Hawk Tua podcast all day. Yeah. So it's a little cartoon, and it's just him drooling. And your one, like her face is like she's like ha ha ha, spit on the Mickey, and all of a sudden she looks at the camera and her eyes go full black, and she's like, "You are lost now, but I will help you to be found." Like it's a really surreal, funny little cartoon.
Yeah, no, fair play to her. Again, it's not her fault. She was, she was in the right place, right time. Got good help with the podcast from the Paul brothers.
There's a buddy of mine that was saying he's a journalist, and he was saying they had started a podcast years ago, and he said it took a huge amount of research. It was just when we had started. And he was like, "Oh, how are you getting on?" I was like, grand." I said, we're getting about, at the time we were getting maybe 300 listens a day on average. And he was like, that was like my biggest day ever was when I got 300 listens. He goes, and he was proper like researching and stuff. Yeah. It was a much better product, I'd imagine, and a lot more went into it.
It's really hard to get. It's really hard to get like listens depending on what way you go about it. You see that a lot with podcasts where it's like it's crazy. Sometimes I'm on a bunch of communities for content creators, podcasters, all that, and you just see some of their stories, and like to even get like you said, probably one of our worst days in listens. Like it can take some people like 5 years to even get to that.
Yeah,
and you're like, Jesus. And like, but that just shows like that's the cool thing in a way of the whole Talk to It thing is like literally there is huge potential there if it's marketed well, and hers was marketed very well, and she just rode that wave. The whole meme coin thing, I don't know how liable she is to that, because obviously
I think she was just she's not in there doing fucking
like people are trying to frame it as in like, well, she's like 50% owner, so like, but like she doesn't fucking probably know what a crypto.
But sure, loads of those. Like, but sure, even I think Logan Paul got in trouble for something similar. But I would imagine,
but it's his gang though. She has a podcast because of the Paul's.
Okay. So that they might actually be responsible for that as well. Right, okay. Because what I was thinking was it's like anything. It's like, here's the figurehead of this thing. And it's just because you're semi-famous, you're the figurehead of something, but you don't know they're trying to scam people.
They probably just used her in an opportunistic way. I doubt she knows the economics of meme coins and like the ins and outs of like rug pulls and all that type of stuff. So, look, live and learn on her part, but hopefully she makes her bag and she gets out when she can.
Seems like she already has, to be fair. Seems to be doing pretty good. Sometimes you have to Hawk Tua on that thing.
Sometimes you do. So yeah, big shouts out to everyone who tagged us for the Spotify Wrapped. And yeah, we always appreciate the listens, and it was very nice to just see people take their time and tag us and all that. So thanks very much. We have got a Bigfoot sighting, Eamon, from this year, from a couple of months ago, in Oklahoma, if you want to take it away for us there.
In McCurtain County, no less. So the location details were that they were parked in a Mountain View RV park, and that's in Watson, Oklahoma. It's right on the state line of Arkansas in the mountains. The camper was at the Mountain View RV park. He can't remember the closest road, but I'd imagine that's probably fairly, So, on June 25th, 2024, my wife, my 2 children and I were outside our camper in Watson, Oklahoma, cooking over our campfire. Sounds wholesome, sounds lovely. The last thing you need is a giant bipedal metaphysical Bigfoot showing up.
You don't want that.
It was late evening and we were listening to music and talking while our kids played in their small Spider-Man pool. That's just made it way better again. Yeah. Spider-Man, as we all know, excellent superhero. We had our cattle dog outside with us on her leash. That's like a sheepdog, I guess, I'd right? Or some similar kind of thing. Yeah. Out of nowhere, we hear a huge wood knock. It honestly sounded like somebody broke a small tree in half from the tree line about 50 yards from our camper. Immediately, all of our heads turned in the direction of the tree line, indicating to me that we had all heard it. Our dog then began to growl and stare in the direction of the tree line. She attempted to find whatever it was. After about 15 minutes, we kind of forgot about it. I had an appointment down in Austin, Texas the next day. At the time, we were traveling the country in our camper. We left and stayed in Texas for a night, leaving our camper behind. When we returned to Watson, Oklahoma, where our camper was on the 27th, something or someone had drug our dog food container out in the open and successfully opened it. You would have to have thumbs to do this. So a strong raccoon, perhaps. Also, when we walked into our camper, something had shaken our camper hard enough to knock our shelves off the wall, which were held up by a strong adhesive. Jeez. Okay, so that's really, really a powerful thing. Perhaps the most mysterious part of the whole thing is that whatever it was ripped one of our solar panels off the top of the camper and was strong enough to break the welds which the bolts are bolted into. Yeah,
because up to a point you're like, this sounds like a bear, right?
Yeah,
but then solar panels on the top of the truck and stuff, you're like, okay, that doesn't sound like a bear then.
Fairly ridiculous. A person could have simply unbolted the bolts if they wanted a solar panel, and the solar panel wasn't even stolen on top of that. I have pictures on my iCloud account of the broken welds and the solar panel hanging on by a sliver of metal. Yeah, to break like galvanized metal, you know, that's
just rip it off. Yeah.
Well, I might be able to.
Yeah, you might.
You
I would. I have done it in the past.
Yeah, you'd be very strong. This was right before a big thunderstorm and the ground was very dry, so unfortunately I was unable to find prints. And at the time I was a bit of a skeptic. I first thought maybe a person had done this, but my fishing poles and tackle were unsecured outside the camper and nothing was stolen. I do not know who would do this just for fun. I'm not saying it was Bigfoot, but I've never seen a human who could be strong enough to break actual metal welds like that, except Rob, which secured our solar panel. I only wish I had definitely seen this creature, but when you put the pieces together in an active county like this, it has to be Bigfoot or something similar.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, this is the thing with a lot of these stories is like, first you logically assume, is it a bear? In most accounts, when people say they've seen something big in the woods, that is where your mind first goes, right? Is it a bear? But there's enough here to where you're like, probably not. So that makes it interesting, right?
Well, if a bear, so let's assume it was a bear for a second, right? So if a bear was like moving the RV, maybe he'd have to get up on his legs and just keep pushing it.
I'd say he could do that.
You know? He could do that. If he was to get up on, but you'd imagine there should be some sort of claw marks or indentations on the body of the RV. If you're getting up to the solar, like how high is an RV? 10, 12? Like they're big, you know?
I just don't see a bear getting up on the top for no reason.
I don't see how he would actually, because you'd have to get his hand in under.
I'd say a bear would figure it out, but
to be fair, a bear on the top of an RV destroying solar panels is something you wouldn't expect to see.
No, but it'd be class.
But then is Bigfoot deadlifting a fucking solar panel what you expect to see?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you just have to be a bit critical there, but it's very unusual. He's got some more there.
It's extremely unusual, he does, so he noticed that the wood knocks and tree bark were unusual and there was no claw marks on our camper, so he ruled out a black bear. So as we said, it's like genius of podcasts.
It is,
Plus our camper's about 9 feet up. I don't think a bear would climb the camper and rip off a solar panel for no reason while no one was there. Again, makes sense. My wife and I were hanging out by our campfire when the first incident occurred. We left June 26th. We arrived back June 27th, and we noticed the camper damage. We put 2 and 2 together. Late afternoon in the summer is when it happened. The sun was beginning to set, still very much daylight. We had a clear view of the ridge line of the mountains surrounded by forests and ponds. There was a national park about 10 miles away and a lot of running streams in the area. Yeah,
so the thing is with this sighting and any sightings that we do cover from the Bigfoot website is there are coordinates to where this happened. Like, that's the cool thing. If anyone's interested, I think I've put it into the show notes before. I think it's like something like BRFO or something like that is the website, something like that. But basically, like, just type in like Bigfoot sightings North America, it'll bring you to it's an interactive map with sightings logged in real time. So, like, if you're into it, you can definitely go and check out places. Do you know what I mean? Like someone puts in a site and you can go and investigate that spot based on the location. So if you're really about that life, maybe you're just a hiker who's like, I want to go and do Bigfoot themed hikes, you know? Like,
I think like it's all well and good until you find Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Everything is grand. You're going for hikes, going to be class to see Bigfoot, and then Bigfoot sees you.
Or a bear stomping ground as well. Either or.
Arguably that could be worse actually. It's a very interesting story. Again, look, if you were to go like what's more likely, you might say a bear, people fucking around. Like, you know, if you were just being what's more likely. But at the same time, what's more probable, not necessarily Bigfoot, but what's the probability of people just deciding to fuck up your RV for no reason?
It's just unusual, you know.
It's very strange.
And look, all of these unusual things are things that, you know, you should report on, talk about, because...
Is it as unusual as the Hawk Tua girl becoming the most successful podcaster in the world?
Behind Joe Rogan. She's the most successful female podcaster ever. Yeah, already. So there you go. Take that.
Seriously?
Yeah. But that'll just show you the crack, like, do you know what I mean? That's where you're like, right, okay.
This is what you're up against. Hang on until I'm very curious about this.
No.
I just want to see.
Yeah, well, you can look that up there, and I'm going to read about ghosts. We have a ghost story here from Reddit, the treasure trove of ghost stories. This is by a user called AdMedical, and the title of it is "A Young Woman That Greeted My Work Crew." Back in 2018, I was a housekeeper. We pulled up to a regular client's home and parked in our usual spot. The homeowners were extremely elderly folks, which is an important detail. I opened my door that is facing the house. My co-worker opens her door, also facing the house. We kind of sit for a minute chit-chatting before getting out when we look at the house, and a tall, blonde, long-haired young woman in a nightgown is at the now open front door, but is still behind the closed screen door. She kind of hollers to us that the front door is unlocked and to come on in whenever we're ready. Even her voice was youthful. We literally all were like, "Thank you, we'll be right in," and then unload and go into the house. Didn't think much about it, except the elderly wife usually unlocks the door and lets us in, so this was a bit different. Like maybe she had family staying over, lol. We get inside, greet the elderly wife. She was a very small woman. Clean the entire house. And when we get back into the work car, my team lead asked if anyone noticed something weird. We were like, no, what? She had asked the wife about the young woman, and this lady said no one that fit the young woman's description had been in her home, and she must have forgot to lock the door when we walked in. Don't know how the rest of us didn't notice. We never ran into this lady the whole time we're cleaning to realise we didn't ever see her again. But the fact that all four of us seen this lady and responded to her is what really made it set in that, yo, this just happened, Lamau. We talked about it for the entire rest of the day. I still think about it very often. In all fairness, this is a very old house in a historical part of the city, so I'm very sure weird things are bound to happen in areas like that. So there was a couple of comments and stuff that weighed in on it, and they were like, maybe it's like the woman's, like that older woman's like spirit or something fucking nuts. That's what people were reckoning.
Yeah,
that's what they were talking about.
Different people are talking to her, and
it's like bizarre, all four people.
They all saw her,
like seen her, acknowledged her.
Yeah.
So some people are like, oh, it's something to do with the elderly wife. Like it might be her, something to do with her. Maybe the bitch is fucking astral projecting or something. Is that how it works?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. Yeah, the old astral projection. I was watching something the other day, and I was like, when you're asleep, that is your spirit being free finally. And I was like, I know, man. I've had some weird dreams in my life. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure if they were talking about the dreams themselves.
Like the topic or are you thinking like, is it the topic of the dreams, or is it you wonder, me in the dreams?
Because for me at least, like my dreams are so closely tied to whatever. It's not that I'm the same person exactly, but like it's definitely like, it's like your dad actually said it to me years ago. We were talking about dreams, probably drinking wine up in his gaff one day. But he was talking about how like he thought that sleeping was kind of like running a defrag on your computer, and you're kind of throwing away some of the stuff you need. your brain sort of trying to make sense of things and reorganizing information. But I always thought that, to me, always made a lot of sense. Whereas if you see it as something, some sort of truth within you, I think it's likely to lead you astray a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I have like spots in dreams, like places that I go to in dreams that I've never been to in real life, but they're recurring places and things like that. Like, and they have a very distinct, like when I'm in them in dreams, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm back here again. Do you know? So
it's almost like that DMT thing where you're like, oh, like that's what people say about that, isn't it? It's a very familiar place.
Like there's like one kind of field kind of spot that is like that. There's like a country road. There's like cliff area. There's a couple of built up areas as well. Like, and I'm always like, oh yeah, I'm back here.
And do you think that for you, because like cliff areas, country roads, stuff like when you're obviously really fond of hiking.
I had that before then though.
Okay.
Yeah, right. These are places that I would have been having dreams about when I was a child, like teenager. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. Have you ever had a dream when you're not in the dream at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a few. They're rare, but I have dreams that are like
you're observing and stuff. Yeah.
No, sometimes I'm just like, I'm not there. There's a movie. It's like there's a movie playing.
I've had dreams where I'm not me and I'm observing something. So like, it is kind of like a movie,
like you're omniscient, kind of like you're God almost. You're just seeing things. Yeah, okay, I get you.
I've had dreams in like sepia before, things like that.
Yeah.
Weird shit.
I've had some, like even the when we did the Halloween story for the podcast, when I wrote that was based on like a dream I had where I noticed that there was these two trees and people were walking between them, but they would just turn into different people behind the tree and come back out. And I kind of figured it out, and I realized like, oh God, this is like the devil or something. And as soon as I figured that out, someone who was walking just turned and looked at me from there, and then I kind of woke up. But I've had ones where like I wouldn't be there at all, and it would just be like that thing happening. Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. Strange, man. Who knows? Like,
bizarre.
We had a comment today from a FS1257 over on YouTube, Eamon, if you want to read that out.
Hey, Rob and Eamon, I listened to over 1,100 hours of podcasts in 2024 and
11,000.
11,000, excuse me. Yeah, geez, 1,100, yeah. 11,000 hours of podcasts in 2024, and Monster Fuzz came out on top.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Wouldn't be surprised if I didn't spend 5,000 hours listening to your shambles of a podcast. So that's probably the best way to describe it, to be fair. Imagine what I could have learned consuming something else for all of that time.
Yeah, like talk to it.
Yeah.
I got
spit on that thing. I say this with love, obviously. I've been a long time listener, and my favourite episodes have to be the yearly compilations of the funniest moments.
I need to do them again. I haven't done them in like 2 years, but I need to actually start doing them again because they're fun to put together, and I haven't done one in a long time. But because they're fucking tricky.
It's arduous, I'd say.
They're easy doing them now because we're making clips more often now, so I can just use the clips that we make. But like, I used to do audio only clips back in the day, and it was really easy then because you basically had like, say, a half an hour, 45 minutes of audio, and then you just picked out some more bits that were maybe a bit more long form and stuff. So maybe this year I might get back to it. I'll see. Yeah.
Okay. Special shout out to the Valentine's Bigfoot episode. The first mention of Bootsy. Bootsy's fairly good. As well as the Italian UFO stories. The Italian UFO stories, is that the one where like they were in the football stadium?
Yeah.
And garbage Vitelli or whatever.
There was some reason why we lost it in that one.
I think we said
we were talking about talking about fucking. It was because we were talking about Mussolini, probably, was it?
Oh, okay.
Something like that,
cappuccinos thrown on him.
And I think Gaddafi was probably in that episode as well.
Funny,
it was probably that one.
Gaddafi thing. I think I sent you like a picture of Gaddafi the next day.
I sent
he's getting stabbed in the head. You sent it to me.
I went, fuck's sake.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But the Valentine's one, that was good as well. We need to, hopefully we land on a Valentine's this year. We'll do it again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he goes on to say, love your takes on metaphysical Bigfoot, your strange obsessions and impressions. Yeah, Japan, Brazil, Street Fighter, The Bear, Creed, Shakira, WWE, UFC fighters, and many more. You two truly are pioneers in nonsense. That's true. But you've made my morning and evening commutes much more bearable, so that's good. And he says, P.S. I have a small, weird Monster Fuzz story to share. When I was a kid, my sister and my dad were watching TV in the living room. At the time, we lived in a suburb in Switzerland, and the living room had a view of the garden. There was a track that ran behind our garden that you could kind of see through the garden bushes. All of a sudden, I hear my sister scream. I was in my room. I ran to the living room, and both my dad and my sister claimed they'd seen a fully grown tiger walking up the track as clear as day. My dad called the police, who promptly showed up and basically laughed in disbelief before taking a report and leaving. To this day, about 20 years later, my dad and my sister are adamant that there was a tiger roaming our quiet little suburb. Could this have been a cryptozoological creature a la the British wild cats?
Sounds like it.
Yeah, it totally does.
In Switzerland, it's one of those. Switzerland is a liminal country. It's where the neutrality and all the dodgy boys go and hide out.
All the dodgy boys.
Yeah.
It's
neutral. Same as it used to be, where they wash money and everything until was it Germany or somewhere? It was like, here, now you're not doing that anymore.
You better give that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're kind of like EU
or maybe it was
adjacent.
America. It was one of the bigger world powers. Was just like, you're just.
Well, Switzerland are known for being a really rich country.
Yeah, right? It was the place where, like, because of their neutrality, countries that
you could kind of
countries that were totally sus could like do business there because of the neutrality.
Swiss, they're good at.
Looks like a good place to live, actually. Good place for chocolate.
Good place for chocolate. Tennis rackets. They seem to be into tennis.
Are they?
Switzerland, yeah, or maybe that's the Swedes.
It's probably Swedes. So Anna Kournikova, was she Swedish?
Something like that. Who's she married to anyway?
Andre Agassi, is it?
Is she?
She should be.
He's the only other two.
She should be.
What's the other tennis player? Tim something or other. Tim
Henman.
Is that him? I don't know.
Yeah, could be. English lad. 90s. Tim Henman.
Hit a ball over a net. Didn't Steffi Graf there was an old tennis player from back in the day? Which tennis player got stabbed on the court? It was a lady. Some fucking deranged fan ran out and went at her with a military knife or something.
Jesus.
But she survived. He was unwell in his mind.
Yeah. Well, that's tennis. The passionate sport. I got stabbed. Yeah. So not I mean.
They were 3 sounds of people playing tennis, MP3s.
Yeah, so we're on to some questions. We didn't answer all of them last week. By the time some more came in. So Graham writes in, he says, it's the Halloween pod all over again. Some ghoulish listener casts a curse on both of you. Rob turns into Bison and Eamon turns into Blanca, a la our costumes.
Yeah.
Who's winning the fight and why?
Me.
Course.
Only on Street Fighter 6. Only on Street Fighter 6. In Street Fighter lore, Bison would win. Interestingly, Blanca was who I first beat Bison with when I was 9 on the Super Nintendo. And that's when I found out he was Jimmy.
He was his gimmick.
I was Jimmy all along.
I don't think back in the day, I don't think I ever bet Street Fighter probably.
Super hard game. No, I mean, to be fair, look, Bison... generally speaking.
Yeah, unlimited psycho power.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
You will yield to my psycho energy, Ryu. Ken, you big nonce. Get in here and use your Tatsumaki Seppu Kyaku for evil.
Yeah, no, Bison is the man, He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
Stephen William Marlowe writes in, Eamon.
What's your favourite podcasts? I'm looking for some new ones. For me, it's this one.
Micah Hanks.
Oh, Micah Hanks, Last Podcast on the Left, and True Crime all the time. Cheers. Favourite podcasts? I love Radio Rental. Big fan of that.
Very old school podcast. That goes back a long time.
No, Radio Rental. No, actually, yeah. So Radio Rental
I thought that was as old.
No, it's
it's older than us, anyway.
If it is, it's like barely. It's about 5. I think it's 5 or 6 years. It's the fella from The Office.
Yeah, Rainn Wilson.
Yeah. He sort of like, it's almost like a little horror anthology. So you get 2 little stories, and they're true stories. They can be ghostly or kind of true crimey or blah blah blah. But I'm a big fan of that. I like that. I'm a big fan of Wes's Sasquatch Chronicles as well. This is all the stuff that's within our wheelhouse. Outside of that, obviously, Diary of a CEO. Obviously,
talk to it.
Yeah. There's a great.
You listen to lots of podcasts.
I listen to lots of podcasts. Yeah.
Give us a couple of names or one.
Knife Point Horror is fantastic. It's like it's the most minimalist horror stories that you can get. Right. So the guy, his pen name is Soren Narnia. I have one of his books. He sells them online as well. But his stories are like, they're just meat and bone, and it's very like
shite. Like
no, it's like muck-tastic. It's they're some of the coolest stories. They're slow burn. Like you got to listen for a long time and the payoff. But it's very plaintive, very just. Yeah, I love listening to that. What else is there? I don't know. There's loads of stuff on.
Well, you like Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast, really?
I love Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast. Right now, it's Matt or Shane's Secret Podcast.
You listen to WWE podcasts?
I don't.
You do, yeah. Go on, you lying bastard.
Why are you doing me like this? I would listen to WWE podcasts.
You do. You listen to your man.
Who's your man?
When we were in Wales, you were listening to a WWE podcast, and I goes, "Who's that?" And you were like, "Oh yeah, this is some fella that talks about WWE." Yeah, you were.
I might have been.
Yeah, you were.
I might have been. It didn't.
Well, I didn't imagine that scenario.
I'll go over some of my recents. Right.
Yeah, go on.
We have
talk to her.
No, we have Matt and Shane, Secret Podcast. Diary of a CEO. Last podcast on the list. I was following more recently Shattered Lives. It was like I was following that Conor McGregor case.
Oh yeah, that's good actually. That podcast, Shattered Lives.
Yeah, I like Therapy Gecko from time to time.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Somewhere in the Skies is very good. It's like the UAP, so getting a lot of stuff on all that sort of madness. Mysterious Universe, Monsters Among Us. Shouts out Delaney. She works on that one.
No, don't shout her out.
Sorry, Delaney, I have to rescind that shout out because Rob's not happy about it. And we can't afford to let any more tension get between us on our podcast. Occasionally, I listen to David McWilliams, try to understand the economy, fail, and then move on to listening to Dogman scared people. I like Mental Illness Happy Hour is a really good one. Depression Mode.
Yeah, that's good, man.
They're kind of mental health podcasts. But yeah, I listen to everything, man. Unexplained. I listen to huge amounts of podcasts. Yeah. George Knapp and your friend Corbell, I listen to their podcast from time to time. I put on Rogies every now and then if I'm interested in the guest. But yeah, loads of stuff. Triple KO, that's a really good fighting game podcast with Max and Million Dude. Yeah,
Max and Justin Wong, right?
Max, Justin Wong, and Matt McMuscles, who he does really good YouTube content. Occasionally, I listen to Neil Brennan's Blocks. 6 Degrees.
Neil Brennan, he's still figuring it out. That is basically his whole last 15 years has been how to make me not mad.
And it turned out to just be massive amounts of ayahuasca. Such an amount of
ayahuasca
that he nearly... Yeah, he solved it now. Yeah. But
he used it for a time. It was every time he was on Rogan, it was just here's this new thing that I'm trying to not be mad.
I think my theory, and I could be totally wrong, is that he was so obsessed with trying to get rid of his mental illness that he couldn't. Because how can you get rid of something that you're so zoned in on?
Yeah.
So what he did was he basically did so much ayahuasca that he nearly killed himself because he was constantly high for 2 months. And then he was grand and now he's fine.
Oh, good to hear.
So there you go. Anyway, I would listen to loads of podcasts.
What do I listen to? Not much. I don't listen to podcasts really.
Yeah.
The odd occasional bit of Blind Boy.
Yeah.
I go on and off Blind Boy. I go hot and cold on him. But when I'm hot on Blind Boy, I'll listen to a lot of it. I'll go back, I'll listen to a good bit.
To be fair, his podcasts are put together in a brilliant way. You're not going to find a lot of other podcasts because it's authentic. It's not he's not trying to, it's very... And I don't think you could authentically make something like that unless you have his kind of mind.
Yeah. No, his is very good. Atletico Mints, as I've said many times on this podcast, is the funniest podcaster. Is Bob Mortimer, in my opinion, funniest dude that has existed
and will exist.
Yeah,
he's the Bret Hart of comedy.
Yeah, and so I love it. I love that podcast. I love him. I'm trying to think, is there anything else I really? To be honest with you, no. No, I don't. Trying to think. The odd time I'll put on Tame.
Oh yeah. Well, all the people that we've been on podcasts with, I didn't shout out, but yeah, definitely, I love this.
The odd time I'll put on Tame. yeah, I think that's it really. I'm not a huge podcast guy. I'm more of a YouTube guy.
Yeah.
So I'll generally, if I'm like in a situation where people would usually listen to a podcast, i.e. if they're sitting at a desk or whatever, I'd stick on YouTube usually. If I'm driving, I'd stick on a podcast, but again, few and far between nowadays. Back in the day, I used to listen to H3 when he was more interview based, and then it just became a kind of a outrage sort of clickbait
that
merchant
podcast turned into a really bizarre like I didn't know about
it. Became an echo chamber, like again. True, I thought he was a really funny content creator back before he ever did like anything in terms of news or anything. I thought he was a very funny person actually, and I thought his content was really original and just hilarious.
Yeah.
This was like, I'm talking circa 2015, 2016.
Okay, so like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Loved him. Then when the podcast started, I was like, oh yeah, cool, like they're going for the Joe Rogan interview kind of style, and I enjoyed that, and it had all the Rogan adjacent people on, and you're yeah, cool, here we go. And then just over time, I don't know, it
got very self-conscious. I felt like it, like, again, when I say it got, I probably didn't even look at it at the start, but when I looked at it afterwards, I was like, geez, these guys are fucking really talking about themselves. Like, it becomes an echo chamber, and it becomes very self-referential, and I think we would as well. Like, we're self-referential, but I think if you get super, super big like they're one of the biggest podcasts out there too. Like, that's self-reference stuff goes like hyper-powered, because like you have like hundreds of thousands of people. It'd be like us when like true. Shakira was going on, or when we were doing the gonk and stuff. Yeah. It becomes more of a thing. And you have like 1,000 times.
Yeah, everyone is like, and so you kind of get drunk on your own Kool-Aid a bit, which I don't blame.
It's
them.
Understandable.
Like,
and the other part as well is, you can't really hold these people to the same degree that you hold other media outlets, because it's just
lads
dudes like you and me. Like, if we just had all of a sudden millions of listeners or whatever, and then we were getting in trouble, like, this isn't fair. Like, I just, we're just two lads from Wexford.
I'm not mad into podcasts that like get super, super political either. I don't mind political talk, but I feel like if I feel like I'm getting a certain flavor, if I think it's like the whole thing with that CEO that just got murdered. Like Ben Shapiro, I was like, he's a blah blah blah. He was giving out about it, and people were like, I'm sad. Like, in his comment section, there was a bunch of comments that had like over 1,000 likes that were just like, you really just want to pit us small people against each other all the time, don't you? Really, and that's your business model. And it's like, that's exactly they're trying to divide.
A lot of those guys on the Daily Wire, like, that's their money is. They're like, all right, I'm on this side. And I just keep pandering to these people. Do you know what I think is a real pity? There's been a death of reason, like, and just being reasonable, and it's so hard. Yeah,
like, it makes you, like, from an outside perspective of someone that doesn't really give too much of a fuck. Like, I was kind of thinking about it the other day, and I was kind of saying to myself, like, are they making people who have lower intellect than them care about things and be angry about things that they would never be angry about in their normal life otherwise, if they hadn't raised that problem to them?
And I think so in a lot of cases, it's not even an intellect thing. I think they can be very smart people that are taken in by poor
true
ideas,
well, that's true too,
you know? And when you the more of that you consume, the more you think it's everywhere. But the reality is, like, this is the time. Like, look, and don't get me wrong, that there's two sides to every story. The thing that really annoys me is, like, let's say an easy one to pick at is like the trans thing. They're like, men who identify as women going into women's bathrooms, sport, all the rest of that. And there's parts that you can kind of go, all right, well, what's reasonable here? Like, is it reasonable with this? How do women feel about it? Because it's not affecting guys like you and me, right? I think you need to be able to have a conversation about that, a fair conversation. The problem then is, though, these same guys who are saying that are then going, well, my religion wouldn't let me go to a gay wedding because I'm not homophobic, it's just my religion. And it's like,
well, it goes everywhere.
Yeah, it goes everywhere. But what they're doing is they're laughing at the sort of the people who are marginalized in certain videos. Kind of be, look at this fucking stupid trans person or whatever, or look at this stupid blue-haired person screaming about Trump. And it's ridiculous, but it's also like, it's like you showing a lad in a Ku Klux Klan thing and go, look at this stupid far right guy. It's like that's not like that's such a minority. But what it is, to your point, is it sows division. And it's very rarely reasonable.
Yeah, and there's lads out there who would never have a hot take about any social topics only, like the only reason they have a take on it is because they watch either the likes of your H3s or the likes of your Ben Shapiro's, who are on both different sides of the spectrum.
And I think
it's like,
I think that because the likes of CNN and places like that, and they shouldn't have, but because they were like trying to denounce, say, Rogan and Trump and all the rest of it, that pushed Rogan then to be in a more, you know, and then but the problem is when you have that amount of listeners.
I don't know if he was pushed now.
Yeah, well, it might have been a small, like gravity, a tiny movement.
You've given me no choice.
I have the higher ground, Kamala. You can't win. But I think that was the thing, is that he's really gone in on that, and you'll have a guest that goes on his show not wanting to talk about, like,
no, there's an echo chamber,
and it's just like now he's going on about like the Democrats and blah blah blah. And again, there's some fucking stupid shit they're doing, no different to the guys on the other side. I think it's really difficult that oftentimes you can't. It's just, I think our society is in a really poisonous situation.
If you consume all that, just don't consume all that bullshit. Fucking tune out of it,
or just listen to if you're really into like a particular side, listen to the exact opposite side for a while and see how you feel after a week of just listening to them. And I guarantee you'll see the reason in what they're saying as well. And the whole thing is just pick out the parts that are most reasonable. What's gonna like hurt the least amount of people possible. What's the right thing to do or to feel, you know, to think.
James O'Connell writes in, he says, what are your favourite Deftones songs?
That's a good question. Digital Bath, I'm a big fan of, obviously. Digital Bath. I think I've burned myself out on a lot of White Pony.
Have you?
Yeah, I have a White Pony tattoo, but so I can't listen to it that much anymore. Koino Yokan is like, all those albums afterwards are great. For me, I have a real soft spot for Engine Number 9 from Adrenaline. It's like a real bouncy, heavy song. There's a hidden track on Around the Fire called Daemon. I really like that. All of White Pony is fantastic. I love fucking Street Carp. I love all the like the main songs as well. I'm not trying to be a dickhead here. Like, it's just, they're probably my favorite band. Sex Tape, like, out there, I don't know, all those. But Digital Bath, if I had to pick one, the one that affected me more than any other Deftones song is probably Digital Bath.
Number 1 for me is Be Quiet and Drive.
Be Quiet and Drive is brilliant, yeah.
Number 2 is probably Digital Bath. Number 3 could be like Passenger.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff off Adrenaline I really like.
Adrenaline is just...
Yeah, I think I prefer Adrenaline over Self-Titled. But
I think I think you can make an argument for every Deftones album being the best album, and it's a
Minerva.
Minerva?
Is that the name of it?
No, that's the self-titled. Yeah. But Minerva's on self-titled. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So what I meant to say is I think I prefer Adrenaline over Around the Fire.
Yeah.
I definitely prefer Adrenaline over self-titled. Definitely. Yeah. As a matter of fact,
you don't like self-titled?
Nah.
Yeah, I like self-titled, but I'm not a big fan on self-titled.
It's a bit whack.
After self-titled, you get Saturday Night Wrist, which is probably my least favorite.
Yeah,
it's still, but like,
I think they're on a downward trajectory there for a while. There's a lot going on with the bands and stuff.
When Koino Yokan's phenomenal, and the one they released just recently, Ohms, is brilliant. Diamond Eyes, not mad on Diamond Eyes, and Diamond Eyes, Gore, and Saturday Night Wrist, I can probably like they're not bad. They're just, if you have a band that released like 10 albums, you're gonna have.
They've had a bit of a resurgence. I was going to say unexpected resurgence, but I don't think that's fair.
There's a lot of people that say that
goth chicks are into them. Like,
a lot of people that say Deftones is like horny music, horny rock
like
music.
Gothy emo chicks nowadays, like they're all into Deftones. But it makes sense in a way, because
Deftones are very like it's very sort of seductive in its sound, like the production on it.
16-year-old kids being into Deftones now is like us being into Led Zeppelin when we were 16.
Yeah, well, I was into Deftones when I was 16 as well, and they were on their third album.
No, I know,
but I know what you mean.
Know what I mean?
You're going back like 20 years.
Like those kids to them, that's like 70s music.
Yeah, totally. Or even for us, it's almost like Fate No More, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like in that it's a slightly newer, and they're sort of still going-ish.
So, it's interesting.
Yeah, I know Deftones, and like, to be fair, even some of the other stuff he's done with Crosses. There's a song called Option on the first Crosses album, and it's just it captures that same thing, that sort of Digital Bath, Be Quiet and Drive, and a lot of those, that sound you find in a lot of Depeche Mode and little bits of Duran and stuff
New Romantic.
Yeah.
Shouts out to Team Sleep as well, which is Chino
Team Sleep,
Pinback Boys and a couple of others.
That's it. Rob Crow's on it, and the drummer for Team Sleep is. I've never heard someone play the drums like that before. It's just so kick heavy, like it's. But yeah, that's a great album. There's a great Woodstock. I can't remember. It's just look Team Sleep Woodstock, and it's a live recording. And Chino was fairly spotty live until the last maybe 10 years. But he's a great singer. He's one of my favourite singers.
He still can be. I seen a clip of him there recently enough, and I was
he's having a bad night.
Yeah, it wasn't for me. No, I was like, actually.
But he's this particular Woodstock video.
Oh, I remember when we were young. Sure, it was just basically like it was almost like, would I even bother going to see Deftones if they came to Ireland? Kind of conversation. But he also goes on to ask, what craft beer do you think some of your favourite cryptids drink? I don't fucking know any craft beers, man.
No, I drink a lot of craft beers.
But they're very James O'Connell, I suppose he's Irish, right? So then we can answer about Irish beers and people would know, like he'd know at least. I think.
Yeah, well,
he is Irish, he mightn't be.
There's a lovely thing they're doing. I think it's Odell or O'Brother. I can't remember. It could be. But it's an Aldi one basically. Right. Boys are just going mainstream. They're doing this lovely pack where it's 100 mil, like a dram of whiskey paired with a nitro stout, 7.2% stout. What a time to be alive! That's lovely.
Right.
I like, a lot of people don't like them. I'm a big fan of an IPA. I like a nice.
Oh yeah, I like an IPA.
Hefty IPA.
I like white, like Yellow Belly shit. It's good.
Yellow Belly's pretty good, yeah. McArdles.
No, there was one.
McArdles was like a ale.
Yeah,
it's an old style ale.
Was that a craft one though? No.
McArdles is just like
what was the one?
Smithwick's.
Cock. There was one up in Wicklow or something that was.
Not the Wicklow Wolf.
It's not like McGargles or something, is it?
McGargles is.
Is it a craft?
I think that's the one.
There's like 4 of them.
Big bang. Yeah, McGargles. You're right. That was the big banging IPA. They had like a 7.2.
Yeah, I enjoyed their shit. That was good. I went through a brief. I can't really do barley, so that means I'm fucked. Right. Unfortunately, as much.
Yeah. No, I like to start off with a fucking dense IPA, like a 7.2 double IPA or something. And just like you kind of go, ooh, there's something inside me, and then sort of simmer down. I don't really like drinking any more beers or IPAs all night because I just be in bits. Yeah, like physically, mentally, I'm fine.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I'm more of a whiskey guy now. I would say. Yeah, and again, if you're going IPAs, like obviously Flannel Man does be drinking IPAs. Yeah. He's classic
Bigfoot's
IPAs.
Definitely an IPA
I'd say Bigfoot, he does. I think anyone that's kind of foresty, they have an IPA vibe to him.
I like a good craft cider.
Stonewell and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I like a good craft cider.
Pretty good.
I do like I've gotten back into cider as I've gotten older. I poisoned myself on cider as a teenager, which is the story of most. And I've come back around to it. It was one of those drinks where I was like, if I even smell Bulmer / Magners, I'll get fucking sick.
You get some delicious ciders now though, like the lime strawberry. Like I'm a big fan of the lime strawberry.
I don't bother with them now.
You're just more.
They're a bit mingy.
Get your mingy craft cider away from me.
No, I like it just a good apple cider.
Just
like
good apple cider.
Craft cider.
No, I'd like a bit. I'd like a little berries. Mess up with them berries. Take a few berries. Go out like
like a little mingy craft.
Yeast flavor.
Big Bad Moog in the Mountains asks Eamon,
would you rather have a cryptid at the head of the New World Order when they finally take control, or Donald Trump? And if the answer is cryptid, which one and why?
Well, you could argue that the latter is already happening, but failing that, would I rather
Joe Biden or the Loch Ness Monster to run America?
Would I rather our current, sort of direction, or would I rather something different? I'm not unconvinced that Donald Trump isn't a cryptid.
That's a fair point. The great orange man.
He might be, like, they all might be. Any of them. And the same goes for Biden. Like, they might whip off a mask. They might be reptilian. Yeah. So
I don't know. I mean, which cryptid could you sort of trust to run.
I think Mothman, because he's like psychic or something. He can do like
Mothman has a little bit of telling. Yeah, he could tell you. We wouldn't have to worry about nuclear wars much because Mothman would be like, "That's about to happen." Actually, he'd have the foresight.
He should be like call him
Bruce Foresight, and he would tell us when things were going to happen.
He should be like the head of the CIA. You know?
Yeah, Mothman. You can imagine Mothman. With like, remember when the turtles used to wear the overcoats and the hats? Mothman would be smoking fags.
I'm just imagining like class AI movies now with Mothman flying over the Ukraine-Russia war and just breaking Russia up, firing like mad shit at him and
be like a Godzilla. Laser chests.
Yeah, that'd be fucking class, man.
Yeah, I think Mothman seems like he's the educated man's cryptid, isn't he?
He's a thinking man's cryptid. He's a refined gentleman. So I think, that'd be the one.
I think Mothman's a good show, yeah.
But what have you been up to? It's our news.
Just trying to live.
Yeah. How's your week been? What's new with you?
As little people as possible. What have I been up to? I've been playing a lot of Vampire Survivor on the Steam Deck.
Class.
It's like going back in time, having very no buttons, just moving around, and it's like a game I feel like I could have made up as a child, if that makes sense. But it's I'm really enjoying that. I watched the Senna TV show.
Senna.
It's so Ayrton Senna, the Formula One car driver who died years ago. So he's Brazilian. So Paolo wanted to watch it. It's a great show, and it's like sort of goes between Portuguese and English. Done really, really well. I didn't realize to what extent his career sort of started off in the UK, which was pretty cool.
I'd imagine though, I'd say
seems to be like a hub. I just didn't know anything about Formula One really. Now I know everything about it because I watched the 6 episodes. Genius of the track. They call me now. Yeah, the genius of the track. Did that. What else? I put up a Christmas tree.
Oh, lovely. Feliz Navidad.
Yeah. That's 24th is the big day for herself. Aside from that, man, everything going pretty good, chipping away. And there was something else that I think I brought my niece to go see Moana 2. It's the first time in my life that I brought a small child to the cinema.
Were you arrested or anything?
I wasn't arrested. No, I wasn't arrested. My 5-year-old goddaughter I brought to the cinema with my wife. Surprisingly, no one thought it was strange, but it was a fun thing, you know what I mean? Cute. So it was really nice. So we brought her in, and she was like, so I got her like a little. They have little kids thing as popcorn, little drink, and like a thing of Haribo or whatever. And she was just like, my popcorn is nicer than your popcorn. I was like, it's the same fucking popcorn. No, she did say that, but I didn't respond that way. But it was really nice. She was having fun, and it was like an 11:20 show in the morning. So there was a load of other kids there, and they were laughing, and she was laughing, and then Moana, and obviously The Rock, who plays Maui in that. But so she really enjoyed it, and it was a real nice kind of wholesome experience. So I quite like that.
Yeah, we had the storm. So during the storm, I watched some Silo, which is an Apple TV show. Dogs Mickey.
Really?
Dogs Mickey. Crap.
Dogs Mickey.
Stupid. Yeah. Stupid show. Anyone involved in that show is stupid.
Who's in that show? Is Rebecca Ferguson in that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I saw a thumbnail for it. What's it about?
So I'll tell you why it's stupid, right? Because it released at the same time as Fallout with basically the same idea as Fallout. So it's a civilization that lives in a vault that have not been outside the vault ever. Wow. And there's this whole thing about what's outside, very same as Fallout. But it's just not interesting. And
and they probably don't have cool monsters like
no,
Fallout
it's just, I don't know, because for the first 4 episodes, it's basically all in this vault, and it's just not interesting. You're like, I don't care about any of these characters. It's too slow. The setup isn't there. You're just like, what? We both just couldn't get into it. And usually, what'll happen is sometimes Kara will just turn around to me after an episode and go, don't know. And then we'll stick with it and we'll actually get into it. I said this, or after episode 1, she was like this.
You usually have to give 2-3 episodes.
Yeah, setup.
But again, it's also, that's 3 hours of your time. Yeah. You have to,
No, 4 episodes, and literally halfway through the 4th episode, I turned it off. I was like,
we're not watching that anymore.
Yeah, no, I was just annoyed. I was like, I started Severance though. That's another Apple TV one.
Oh, Severance. That I'm thinking.
No, you're not, because Rebecca Ferguson's in Silo. So
no, just Severance. Like I think I was thinking of Succession.
Right.
So that's not what.
No, Severance has a lad that I recognise. That's all I can offer you.
Okay, yeah.
But it's good. It's good.
Yeah,
the first episode is a lot more intriguing than Silo. So I'm like, I'll stick with this a while, see what it's like. Failing that, Marvel Rivals came out.
Yeah, I was watching Max Dudes go over the costumes, and I was really I'm really into the kind of comic book art style. Yeah, it looks cool.
That's cool.
Are you enjoying it? It's like an Overwatch type game.
Yeah, it's grand.
I've never played one of those games.
Nah, it's grand. It's good fun. Like, it's generic, but because it's Marvel and I had never played any of them, like I never played Overwatch, I'm like, well, may as well jump in when it's Marvel.
Is it like Apex Legends? Is a similar kind of game to that? Or?
More like Overwatch. It's
right.
It's like there's like an objective and two teams fight against each other to complete the objective.
Okay.
There is team deathmatch as well.
Right.
But it's fun. Like, there's 33 heroes in it, so it's like
there's a huge amount, and the fact that you get like an extra costume for every one of them.
Well, you have to pay for them shits.
Oh, I thought you got them as standard, the two costumes.
No, you can unlock them, I think, but you can probably unlock them
with
in-game currency. Yeah.
But you got to grind.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's grand. I finished what we were talking about last week, Silent Hill 2. That's still sitting on me. That's just like, I'm still like mind blown by that game.
I was looking up stuff about that game afterwards, and now because of that, my Facebook stuff is like, I'm getting Silent Hill memes quite a lot. And
then still playing fucking Street Fighter. Like, Jesus Christ, the
close
tilt on that is crazy. Like I can go from like nearly like Diamond 5 down to like early Diamond 4 just in a session, and I'm like so annoyed, but good, still enjoying that. Then I'm trying to think, has there been anything else going on? Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot other than that. I think it's been fairly mundane.
Well, we're gearing up to a hectic enough time now. Yeah, Christmas just around the corner.
Well, actually, I'll tell you what we'll do. One of these days we've talked about it in the past, and we'll actually just say it on record so it's here, but we'll do a YouTube video where we go through some Bigfoot sightings, because we've been meaning to do that.
I know we were saying next Monday I have the day, so I have to do some present stuff in the day, but I can come up here earlier we can just do a day of podcast and stuff. Because I want to do some like kind of YouTube stuff, so like basically a dedicated Bigfoot video and that kind of thing, to see how to do. So that'll be a bit of fun for everyone. Made a mistake. Me and the lads, like one of the boys was talking to me, and he was like, Jez, I'd love to get the original Pokemon cards. Because we were all into it back in the day. Like, he was like, Jez, I'd love to get the original 151, like from the original game. And I was like, yeah, that would be kind of cool, wouldn't it? And I was like, sure, why don't we? And then I ended up buying Pokemon cards. So that's like the next waste of money for me now over the next couple of months. There's the next hyper focus. So I'm looking forward to... how much does a like 90s Pokemon card go for?
Some of the cards that I had back in the day are now worth like a couple of $1,000.
Right.
For one card. As a matter of fact, I still have a card as a movie promo on Mewtwo from the Pokemon movie when it first came out. That's worth about $200-300 now, I think. Pretty good. Still have that card.
Yeah, speaking of collectibles, I forgot to bring down your Street Fighter diecast thing again.
Should you be down next week to do Bigfoot?
Yeah, but I might lose the patience. I might lose the discipline just to open it myself.
No, I won't.
Hadouken!
We'll leave it there, folks. We have a fun episode next week on Harp, written by our good old patron, Mr. Simon Covell, sent it in. So because we mentioned Harp on the pod before, and funnily enough, we had never actually done an episode talking about Harp. And it is something, both of us know a bit about. So we're doing Harp. We're getting a bit those conspiracy dudes next week. So tune in, find out. I've been Rob.
Amen.
Monster Fuzz over and out.
Bye.